These days, the NHS, that's the National Health Service in the UK, gets, shall we say, quite a bad rap. It does it, Dave? Dave, who wrote today's episode. I'm the one who reads it. Let's jump in. Usually when I hear people complaining about it, I drop one of my grandfather's favourite phrases. What do you want for nothing? Jam on it? I mean, yes, okay, Dave's granddad, but also taxes. They're not exactly low in the UK, are they? Now, I'm fully aware that the NHS does not come to us free of charge. Apart from anything else, I do occasionally watch the news, and the financial toll that all these inconsiderate sick people are taking on our glorious country takes up a significant percentage of broadcast time. I've always said it. I've always said this. Like, the biggest cost to society, to the health service, to the NHS, is the old people. Like, me, I went to the dermatologist today because I had a little weird lump on my hands. And they were like, we'll freeze that right off, mate. And to be fair, I don't live in the UK, but the example still applies. But that's the first time I've been to the doctor in ages. And it was like 5 minutes. They whip out the liquid nitrogen, like, and they're like, on your way, and easy. But I know when I'm like 70, my legs are going to stop working, going to need like 700 drugs. I'm probably going to spend a small amount of time in a coma, these sorts of things. So it's really clear what we have to do. We just have to kill the old people before they get old. Like 60. Just out back, bullet in the head. Easy. Strain on the health service completely removed. You'd go to your doctor and you'd be like, oh, I'm not feeling very well. And it'd just be like, boom. Nevertheless, taking all the important points into consideration, I'm glad to live in a country where if you are reasonably certain you need an ambulance, you don't have to factor in whether or not you could afford it before picking up the phone, which is insane, by the way. I know that's something that comes up all the time, and I just can't get over how insane that is. Like, do I like high taxes? Not really. Do I like... Not me. I'd pay for it. But, like, do I like the fact that people who can't pay for it can get fucking healthcare for free? Yes, I like that. It's not weird to like that. You may have to wait several hours for one to arrive, but at least you won't be charged for the privilege. Personally, I think the entire waiting time problem could be almost immediately rectified if we introduced a system based on stupidity. If you arrive at the A&E, that's ER. Oh yeah! There's that show with George Clooney from back in the day called ER, and we had our own version of ER called Casualty, and it was pretty shitty, to be honest. It did have George Clooney in it. It was more like a soap opera than a drama. Just before we continue with the video today, I want to give a big shout out to Bessie. These just arrived literally this morning. Look at that. So clean you could lick them. That's the only time you'd lick the bottom of your shoes. I probably shouldn't have done that anyway. I don't know why I did that. These are Bessies. They're fantastic. I love this new color. It kind of looks black on my camera, but this is this wonderful shade of green, and there's this lighter shade of green. Like, I really like these. I'm looking forward to. They've also got these blue insides, which no one sees, but is very cool. It's just like a nice attention to detail. Bessies are absolutely fantastic. I've mentioned this many times. They are not a water-resistant shoe. That's for sure. They are a waterproof shoe. And spring... Is it summer? Yeah, I guess it is summer. It still rains. It still is raining today. I'm like, isn't it summer already? And I'm wearing my vesties. My socks are always dry. It's just, you know, you sometimes step out of a car and there's a large puddle there. Like, you know, stereotypically in a movie or something. It does happen, and it happens to me. And it's fine, because I'm wearing my vesties. Like I say, they're made with a material called Dymatex, which means they are 100% waterproof. This one's, what's it called? The Torrent sneaker. Oh, I see. Like a torrent of rain. It could survive that. Yes. They're light. They're super comfortable. They look clean enough to wear from errands straight to dinner. They will handle whatever the city throws at you. Vessi backs them up with a 1-year warranty and a 30-day hassle-free return, which is nice, but you're not going to need it. Vessis are perfect. Step confidently into daily life with the waterproof ultralight Vessi weekend sneaker. Oh no. I'm supposed to be promoting something else. Vessi, why'd you send me these this morning then? I have my well-used weekend sneaker, Vessi. My nice cleaner ones are at home. This is the weekend. It's also fantastic. You can see how used and abused it is. I wore this basically constantly for 2 years. Get 15% off your first pair at vessi.com/blaze. Yes, please, that's vessi.com/blaze. And now back to today's episode. If you're suffering from the results of genuine, unforeseeable accident, you get high priority and will be seen as soon as possible. However, if you require medical treatment due to illness or injury brought on by your own stupidity, say you're an anti-vaxxer or you got an electric shock while trying to change the fuse in a plug without unplugging it first, what's wrong with you? Then you go to the back of the queue. Anyway, sorry for the tangent. Yeah, it's like, fuck it. Triage is out. Stupidity rankings are in. It's not about how urgent it is. Like me, it's like, oh, what? I got this. Oh, it's still a little bit itchy. You can look at that. It's not very nice. They froze this off this morning. It's gonna blister, isn't it? It is. But I'll be glad not to have that weird lump anymore. It was really f***ing itchy. I'd had it for like 6 months. I was like, I'm definitely gonna die. They're gonna be like, that's stage 4, mate. Sorry. And they're like, it's literally nothing. It's not even a wart. But if you want, I can freeze it off. And I'm like, oh, please. Thank you. Anyway, sorry for the tangent. Oh my god, Dave, I went like on 2 tangents within your tangent. We're gonna be here for a while, ladies and gents, because this is a long one. This script isn't really about the NHS at all. Well, it will include a few people who were employed by them, but medical fraudsters come from all walks of life. That being said, my one and only personal experience with a medical charlatan did involve the NHS, and if you'll indulge me, I'll now quickly tell you about it. Okay, Dave, let's go. I don't think I've had any experience with medical charlatans, because I'm like the most skeptical person ever. They'll be like, have you tried this? And I'll be like, that doesn't sound real. And they'll be like, no, this is actual medicine. I'll be like, it doesn't sound real. I need to know that this is real. A few of you may know that I've been blind my entire life. I was born with a condition called optic atrophy, which in my case was caused because my optic nerves never developed properly. For quite some time, though, nobody knew this. It wasn't until I was nearly 18 months old, and my parents were becoming seriously concerned that I'd constantly walk into things, and if I ever dropped something on the floor, it was lost to me forever, that the eye specialist at our local hospital was engaged to have a look at me. After examining my eyes, something that would have immediately diagnosed the problem to anyone who knew what they were doing, he told my parents, there's nothing wrong with him. Parents expect too much from their kids these days. Oh my god, that's amazing. I would not actually be registered as blind until I was nearly 3. When my parents, quite understandably in my opinion, demanded to speak with the aforementioned vision specialist, they were told this wouldn't be possible as it'd been dismissed for gross negligence and suspected qualification forgery. Holy shit, dude. Like, I do wonder about this. Like, I've never really had a real job, but I've gone to, like, job interviews and stuff, and I've listed references, and I've said that I have, like, I remember getting my GCSEs. That's, like, the exams we take when we're 16 Americans, and these seem like the most, everyone tells you, like, oh my god, these are really important, you can't fuck around, you have to get good GCSEs. And then when you're done, you get this certificate, and it's like, congratulations, Simon, you got an A. And I did get several A's. I also got 1 C for French. I'm not a linguistically talented man, and also I don't really give a shit about languages. The irony is, now I live in another country and I sort of to say I vaguely speak Czech would be a lie. I stumble my way through awkward conversations until people switch to English, as they are wont to do. But people will tell you, you cannot lose these certificates. These certificates are incredibly important. Every employer will want to see them. I have no idea where those certificates are. I've never used them. My parents probably holding on to them like some treasured asset. Like, oh, well, you can't throw away these. And I'll be like, you can, burn them. I don't give a shit. Literally don't care. Nowadays, of course, they would have probably sued the NHS for untold millions of pounds, but this was 1991 and the UK had not completely turned into America yet. Although my experience was undoubtedly annoying, especially since, had I been diagnosed earlier, my learning curriculum could have been a lot more helpful, I guess it all played a small part in the life that led to the illustrious career that you see before you. We do see it before us, Dave, don't we? Sorry, I don't know if that was a prompt for me to make an inappropriate comment, but there you have it! Some people haven't been so lucky. There are those who've lost their life savings, the chance of a real cure, and in many cases their lives, all because of unscrupulous bastards pretending to be something they're not. I know is this true? I think this is true, right? That Steve Jobs had pancreatic cancer, and there's like 20 types of pancreatic cancer or whatever, and like 19 of them are like, well, you're fucked. It's like, you got 5 years tops, my dude. And then there's one type, which if you get treated, it's like, man, so that was pretty good. Just one. And I think I could be telling a complete, this is like a half-remembered story, but that Steve Jobs had that one type, and he was like, nah, bruh, I'm going to try fruit. I'm going to try having a fruit diet and fasting and juices or whatever the fuck, antioxidants. And then it got bigger and he just died. And he could have, like, not been saved or something, but I think he could have lived like a longer life or something. This could be bullshit. Let's just move on. So just who are these unscrupulous bastards, I hear you ask? Well, let's find out. Oh my god, we're 8 minutes in and the intro is over. Andrew Wakefield. Oh, my favorite bellends. And by favorite bellends, I mean like top of my ranking of ultimate bellends. I mean, maybe there's like Hitler, Stalin, Andrew Wakefield, in my opinion. That is just my opinion. It's definitely not a statement of fact, but it's something that you should, in my opinion, believe. I know. Almost everybody listening to this will be fully aware of Andrew Wakefield and his various crimes, but crimes... Oh, I don't know. Crime, I think he was fraud, but he got struck off the medical register. But let's just say alleged crimes, just in case. But there may be a couple of people out there who don't know the story behind his most infamous piece of work, so I didn't feel right to leave it out. In 1998, the then Dr. Andrew Wakefield, because he's not a doctor anymore, they took it away, published research in the highly respected medical journal The Lancet, which is a journal you've heard of. Like, I feel like you talk about journals, there's like Science, Nature, the two you could name, and then there's like the other famous ones that you probably couldn't name but you've definitely heard of, and the Lancet's f***ing up there. This article, with the straight to the t-shirt name of Ileal lymphoid nodular hyperplasia, non-specific colitis and pervasive development disorder in children. I mean, I guess the Lancet doesn't do clickbait because maybe that's doctor clickbait. Maybe doctors are looking at that like, fuck, I clicked so fast. This would quite literally change the world. Sadly, as anyone who spends any time online will know, changing the world, it's not necessarily a good thing. In this case, Wakefield's alleged study directly led to the deaths of many children, became a reference point for any number of conspiracy theorists claiming the government is trying to poison everybody, and prompted the director of the Royal Free Hospital in London, Mark Pepys, to call him a wanker and a fraud. Those are the words of Mark Pepys, not my words. I mean, they're words that I completely happen to agree with. Before we continue, I'd just like to make it perfectly clear that I'm definitely not a doctor. However, I've been doing this for quite a long time now, and I do at least understand the elements required to put together a competent research program. For anyone who actually reads Wakefield's paper, it becomes clear, if you take it at face value, that he does not. Some of the red flags include, but are not limited to, only including 12 children in his groundbreaking study, deliberately altering his results to fit better what he wanted to find, and having multiple conflicts of interest. Financial conflicts, as I'm sure we're about to find out. I know a lot about this bellends because I hate him so much. At this point, you may have noticed a distinct lack of the word allegedly. Oh, good. Dave's going to remind me that he definitely... And the reason I can safely omit all of this is down to the complete and utter legend that is investigative journalist Brian Deere. Deere, unlike most other journalists covering this story, had a sneaking suspicion that Wakefield was full of it. Rather than simply airing his suspicions publicly, he actually did his job properly, and he fucking proved it. Among the many, many damning things he was able to expose was a letter written to Wakefield from a lawyer who had paid him a large sum of money before the study was published that read in part, quote, "I have mentioned to you before that the prime objective is to produce unassailable evidence in court so as to convince a court that these vaccines are dangerous." Add to that the fact that Wakefield had also filed a patent for a single measles vaccine, a vaccine that would have been largely unnecessary while the MMR jab was still widely trusted. And well, that's not a good look, is it, Andy? It's not Mr. Wakefield. Mr. Wakefield. And not in the good way when you become like a really good-ass surgeon, mister, but is in the way you got struck off the medical register, mister. When Wakefield found out what Brian Deere was up to, he made things much worse by attempting to sue him for defamation. As far as I understand it, and again, definitely not a lawyer, this led the judge to order Wakefield's team to hand over copies of all of the original research. This was information Deere had struggled to access. Not only did it allow him to prove everything he believed, but it also handed him even more damning evidence. Excellent. As a result, Deere produced a documentary exposing the lies.
Sorry to interrupt, Brian Deere, Channel 4 Television. Could I talk to you about your research, sir, and your...
Wakefield was struck off the medical register in the UK, and the world became a slightly better place. temporarily, Wakefield's still up to some dodgy-ass shit. Unfortunately, the damage Wakefield caused was irreversible, and it continues to this day. Yeah, as much as I have like a light-hearted tone about this, and kind of like, hey, what a dickhead, hey, it's fucking really serious, and fuck this. Depending on which study you believe, between 18 and 24% of Americans think the MMR vaccine definitely causes autism.
Oh, fuck.
That's 1 in 4 to 1 in 5 people. Let that fucking sink in. It doesn't, by the way, seriously. No matter what RFK Jr. says, it doesn't. Stop listening to RFK Jr. Why the he just dismissed, like, the vaccine panel? RFK Jr., what the fuck, man, you dickhead. In my opinion, what can happen and is happening is a rise in diseases that should now have been completely eradicated. Diseases that would have been eradicated if it weren't for this fraud and also wanker. Before we move on, I'd like to once again acknowledge Brian Deere for his amazing work and for taking the time to respond to me when I originally contacted him 18 months ago for the anti-vax script on Into the Shadows. Fucking legend! Brian Deere! Yes, my dude. You're like the Superman to Lex Luthor in this situation. I love it. Except, you know, Lex Luthor, you know, he's a bad guy, but he's fucking cool, dude. Andrew Wakefield's not. He's just a bell. If you want to learn more about this, Brian's full documentary is available on YouTube, as is another excellent take on the topic by YouTuber H. Bomber Guy. I've heard of him. There is one good thing to come out of all of this, though. The YouTuber known as Illuminati, Blair, not white, different person. Okay, plagiarized Brian Deere's video so hard that not only was she... Wait! Do I know H. Bomber Guy because he exposed this? Was this the thing? This was the thing! So hard that not only was she caught and exposed, it also came to light that most of her top-performing videos were stolen as well. Yes, I remember this! Oh, it's so nice, because I've had people rip off my shit and it's not really cool. It's not really cool. This was like 10 years ago, though. And, I mean, this was a long time ago. Fuck it, I'm not going to get into the weeds, but it was really annoying and not the best. Although, to be fair, I've also had my flirtations with it as well. I had a writer who, not to my knowledge, definitely heavily borrowed from someone else's script, and I took it down and I apologized for it. I fired that person, but it's on me. It's my responsibility. Like, I'm the dude at the top who has to make sure everything's chill, and that fucking sucked, because I don't like the idea of plagiarizing... Obvious statement of the century is obvious. But yeah, that sucked because I'd had it done to me and it sucked. And it sucks. Stop it. John R. Brinkley. Oh, we're moving on already, aren't we? According to American TV commercials, Facebook adverts, and my email spam folder, ED, or erectile dysfunction, is much more common than you might think. I'm not just talking about a one-off case of brewer's droop. Hey, I'm talking about the kind of thing that is... I'd never heard of brewer's droop before. I feel like I have a word for this as well. You know, where you've had a bit too much to drink and you're like, oh, oh no. Fuck, what's the phrase I would use? But I like brewer's droop. I'm talking about the kind of thing that is so serious, you would fill in a short online questionnaire in order to have a cure rushed to your door, concealed within the most discreet of packaging. Although most of these products will, in the very best scenario, do nothing at all, there are a couple of drugs, such as Viagra, that will help out the unwillingly flaccid. Wait! If you're doing that thing where you go and fill in the I've had sponsors that do this. It's like legitimate telemedicine, where you don't want to go to the doctor and tell them that you need a bit of help in the bedroom. You fill out an online questionnaire and, you just put to your door. Shit, isn't Viagra over the counter in the UK?
Yep.
I think it is. It's like you see it in Boots and shit, but... Like, why would you get something fake when you can go to Boots and get the real thing? Or go to, like, Hims and be like, hello! And they'll just be like, there you go, sir. Affordable price, in the mail, discreet packaging. Yes, please. Unfortunately, Viagra was not approved as a treatment for erectile dysfunction until 1998. So back in the 1920s, those men who were tired of trying to play pool with a piece of... were far more willing to entrust their junk to people like John R. Brinkley. What did people do in the past? Like, I get it. People get older. It's not going to... I was talking about it earlier. Like, I'm going to spend a short amount of time in a coma. My legs are going to stop working. I'm going to get arthritis. My cock's not going to get hard. Like, what did people actually do in the past? Is that what those pumps were for? But then when you take the pump off, doesn't it just go... Pfft? Like, what did people do? You just not have sex? Mm-hmm. I'm genuinely curious now. I'm going to ask ChatGPT after this. Brinkley could quite rightly be described as a genius. Definitely not a medical genius, as you will quickly discover, but a true master of disseminating bullshit. So who was he? Born in 1885, John Brinkley knew from a very young age that he would be destined for medical greatness. So confident was he in his abilities that he decided to forego any traditional medical training, instead mixing up his own potions and selling them at a traveling show with his first wife. Using his mastery of bullshit, I mean crowd-pleasing rhetoric, yes, he was able to play on the general public's belief that most doctors were simply in it for the money, and as a result of this, he was reasonably successful. Why would anyone think you're in it for the money? What? After doing this for a few years, he seemed to change his opinion on licensed practitioners and moved to Chicago to attend the Bennett Medical College, one of the many institutions that taught botanical medicine, before the Flexner report pointed out that herbal remedies and homeopathy were mostly a scam. Herbal remedies, like a lot of herbs and shit, they do things. Like, I mean, homeopathy is obviously fucking nonsense, but like herbs and stuff, that's like some of the, look, don't get me wrong. Most of it is probably bullshit, but there are herbs that do something. What was that, like tree bark that contained like that painkiller? I don't remember. Whatever. If you go munch on some fucking poppies, that's going to be, there's opium in that shit. I guess that's not a herb, though. Unfortunately, due to lack of funds, he was unable to obtain this qualification and would quickly flee the state, allegedly pursued by many creditors. Over the next couple of... We don't need to say allegedly, because this is really far in the past. This guy's fucking dead for a long-ass time.
Oh, he's fucking dead.
Over the next couple of years, he moved from place to place doing various menial jobs, including, and this is important, working with goats in a slaughterhouse. Oh god, wait, is this the guy who cuts out goats' testicles and sews them into men's thighs? For like, virility? This is really disgusting. Get ready. Presumably to take his mind off the task of constantly killing things, he began to employ his prestigious medical talents in order to study the goats before their inevitable demise. During these studies, he discovered something rather interesting. The goats, he believed, were immune to any and all diseases that affected humans, and this caused an inexplicable leap of logic that led to his next project. Or, I don't know, different species, different diseases, mate. It's not like the goats are never getting sick, they're just not getting our diseases, they're getting goat diseases. I mean, I feel like even if I was in the 19th fucking century, I'll be able to put that shit together. Pausing only to separate from his wife and marry somebody else without getting a divorce, he collected a medical degree from the Eclectic Medical College of Kansas City and accepted the post of town doctor in Milford. Collecting a medical degree doesn't sound like earning a medical degree. Eclectic Medical College doesn't sound like a real medical college, but I don't know. It's just called eclectic. Why would you call it eclectic? That's not the real Milford in England, it's the copycat Milford in Kansas. Initially, it seemed that his newly acquired medical training had paid off. Apparently, when the Spanish flu came to Milford, he conducted himself with genuine professionalism, allegedly, quote, providing commendable care to members of the community. After that, though, his Aberforthian obsession with goats would return. I don't know what Aberforthian means, but very good. Maybe it's someone who just loves goats. After being approached by an elderly farmer who was struggling to conceive another child with his wife, Brinkley, well, maybe because you're old, dude. Stop.
No.
Brinkley mulled the problem over for a while coming up with a quite frankly bizarre proposition. Given that he believed a goat to be something of a fountain of health, might it be possible to remove certain organs from healthy goats, transplant them into humans, and then have the humans reap the benefits of the goat's magical medical properties? He's like, you know what you need? You need a goat's brain, my dude. He took the idea to the elderly farmer, who, after allegedly taking several heavy hits from his crack pipe, agreed immediately. So Brinkley implanted goat testicles into his latest patient.
That is f***ed up.
Now, before we proceeded, it's really important to clarify that he was not swapping people's testicles for goat testicles. He was just installing an extra testicle. Stop! Stop! No, you're just like, oh, there's a third one. Oh, it's so goaty, yes. Because of the surgery, and for no other reason at all, the elderly farmer and his wife would quickly conceive another child who, and I promise you this is true, or at least I promise that my research claims it to be true, they called Billy. Bruh. Did he come out like half goatee? I mean, of course he didn't, but like, what the fuck? Word of Brinkley's world-changing surgery spread, and a number of other patients came forth to be billified with similar positive results. Given that Brinkley was charging around $10,000, in today's money, I mean, shit, that's still a lot. For each operation, he very quickly had a bit of spare money to splash around and use some of that money to employ the services of an advertising consultant. Once the news hit the papers, Brinkley was in serious danger of running out of goat testicles. One of the many now publicly infertile men who were keen for a cure was Harry Chandler, the then owner of the LA Times and perhaps more importantly, KHJ, Los Angeles' first radio station. Once Chandler and his wife also conceived a child, Brinkley's talents spread even faster, and the influx of extra dollars allowed him to build an entire hospital in Milford, along with the town's very own radio station, KFKB, very soon the most popular radio station in America. Wait, why'd you do this? Did he do it just to fuck the guy from before? Who was like, no, I got the biggest radio station. He's like, well, I'm giving you a goat testicle, and then I'm going to dominate your business as well, because fuck you. And the guy's like, whatever do you, goat man? He's like, who are you calling goat man, testicle boy? Sorry, I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just going to stop. I was hoping a better joke would come to me, but it just didn't, so let's move on. Although the eclectic mix of music and programming helped boost the station's popularity, by far the most popular section was the medical question box. Funnily enough, the name of my next YouTube channel where I just talk bullshit, during which Brinkley himself, and kind of like this channel, during which Brinkley himself would answer questions sent in by viewers. Sadly, that's where Brinkley's confidence got away from him. After purchasing various pharmacies and using them to sell his own medicines, he began like jars of goat testicles. It's like, DIY, just cut it open, slip it in there. He began to prescribe medicines over the radio whilst encouraging his audience to both self-diagnose and self-medicate. And that got him into a spot of trouble. As his popularity grew, people who actually did know a thing or two about medicine began asking some rather pertinent questions, not least of which being whether or not Dr. Brinkley's medical credentials were as legitimate as he claimed. The concerns over this appear to have been at least partially valid, as in 1923, California tried to arrest him for practicing medicine without a standard medical education, but this was suspiciously blocked by the governor of Kansas, who it later turned out had 3 balls. I don't know. Look, ultimately it would be down to Morris Fishbein, editor of the Journal of the American Medical Association, to finally bring down Brinkley. Absolutely sure that Brinkley was full of it, Fishbein released a lot of information through a series of articles. First of all, he cast further doubt on his credentials by pointing out that he had in fact been working in New York when he was alleged to have been obtaining his medical degree, before going on to call into question the efficacy of prescribing drugs to patients over the radio. I mean, to be fair, telemedicine is a big thing. So maybe he was just ahead of his time? Investigations into these claims would lead to the state of Kansas revoking his medical license on the grounds of gross immorality and unprofessional conduct. Did he even have a medical license, though? It seems like he just bought it off whatever the 19th century equivalent of the internet was. He would also, for different reasons, have his radio station's broadcast license revoked. Oh no, what a shame. Simply telling people that the doctor they had listened to for years was a charlatan wasn't quite as effective as Fishbein had hoped. No, look what happened to Andrew Wakefield. People are now like, MMR, that does autism. Oh, God, what a world we live in. Brinkley received a huge outpouring of support from people who wanted him to run for governor. He would actually go on to do this, campaigning for some pretty forward-thinking causes such as workmen's compensation, child labor amendments, and pensions for the elderly. Bro was in the wrong career. This is all super forward-thinking stuff. Do it, my dude. Do this instead. Leave the bullshit behind and go into politics. Bullshit's much more welcome there. Although he would eventually go on to place 3rd, the vote was surrounded by a great deal of controversy because any ballots that did not contain Brinkley's entire name in full were disqualified. Had he contested these results, it's more than likely that he would have won. After practicing, what did they put in there? Brinkster. Like, you have to write the name, don't you just tick a box? I voted once in my life. I don't remember. I think you just tick a box and you put it in a box. Boom. After practicing medicine in Mexico under his still valid Texas medical license, there we go, he would then move to Baltimore, invent and carry out another bizarre procedure, this time for people with prostate issues. Got prostate issues, huh? You know what'll fix you up? A goat prostate in your butt. Before his arch nemesis, Morris Fishbein, would eventually bring him down for good. After he wrote another article claiming that the doctor was an example of quackery which has reached its apotheosis. It's a hard word to say. Brinkley took him to court for libel, whereupon Fishbean's attorney utterly destroyed him. Brinkley was forced to admit that he knew the goat testicle operation was a scam, and because of this, so was the national advertising for it. The jury would find in favour of Fishbean, and after an unsuccessful appeal, Brinkley would be beset with malpractice lawsuits and would eventually declare bankruptcy. Oh no! His wife and 6 associates would later be indicted on charges of mail fraud, but Brinkley passed away on May the 26th, 1942, before the trial could be concluded. Oh, I thought this was 1970. Oh, I guess he was born in the 1970s. Whatever. It's all bullshit, and it's worse that it's closer to the present day. Now, before we move on, I just want to say that there exists various retellings of Brinkley's life, but I chose to follow the timeline from the National Centre for Biotechnology Information. All retellings of his life seem to conflict quite heavily, but this version seems to contain the most verifiable information. Linda Hazard. I know this one as well. This is the woman who was starving people, to death. It was also a long time ago, so we don't need any allegedlys. For those unfortunate individuals who obtain all of their world knowledge from either TikTok,
it's actually Red Note now,
or Instagram, it could certainly appear that the concept of fad diets, bizarre fitness regimes, and other such ridiculous wastes of money and time are the very cutting edge of cool. I have a little bit of personal experience with this. I've never really been on a diet in my life.
肩に力を伝えて
And I was putting on not a bit of weight. I was going to the gym and I was working out, so I was putting on some muscle. And then I was also just eating a lot of protein. And obviously you eat a lot of protein, you also get a lot of calories. And I packed on about 10 kilos. I first started working out, 71 kilos. 70, 71, always around there. Started working out. I got up to 88 kilos, 89 kilos. And it turns out, yeah, some of that was muscle, about half of it. Also, the other half was just me being a greedy fuck. And I'm like, I need to go on a diet. And I talked to my trainer and he's like, no, you don't. You just need to write down everything you eat. And I'm like, that's not going to work. And it totally does, because you end up feeling super guilty about everything you're eating. And now I just live in a constant state of hunger. It's kind of miserable. But on the plus side, I started in January. In the first 4 months, I lost 8 kilos. Now I'm down to 79. And at least according to the InBody machine, a body fat percentage of 5.6%, which is kind of insane. I know it's definitely not that low, but it's still real low. In reality, though, finding a couple of rich idiots to exploit is an occupation that has probably been around for as long as there have been rich idiots. I first came across the story of Linda Hazard on the truly excellent, if necessarily morbid, channel known as Ask a Mortician. Well, I'm just disappointed you didn't come across it first on my channel, Dave. What are we doing? Just giving people free advertising here? Why is this bullshit? It's a good channel, though. I'm just joking. It's a good channel. I know that one. Obviously, this lady's retelling of the aptly named Hazard is a story more suited to Into the Shadows, but I shall do my best to skip over the worst bits and inject a little bit of humor. In 1910, Dr. Linda Hazard was working in Seattle as the olden days equivalent of a wellness specialist. Then, just as now, these people had some rather, shall we say, unique methods of treating ailments, both real and imagined. Dr. Hazard's particular specialist subject, though, was dieting. She believed that excess was the cause of everything, and that only by existing in a state of perpetual starvation whilst also abstaining from any sexual activity, fuck that, could you hope to stave off the various ailments that life can bring upon you. There was, however, some good news. Even if you had led a recklessly foolish life replete with such excesses as bread, sugar, alcohol, a healthy sex life, etc., and that life had come back to punish you with such things as cancer, epilepsy, migraines, osteoporosis, nosebleed, broken legs. Oh, I got laid and I broke my leg. Honestly, mate, just sounds like you're having a good-ass time. You break your leg having sex. Or in fact anything at all. A carefully designed package of even more serious starvation and daily 8-hour enema sessions would set you right.
What?
Oh my god. Oh my f***ing god. There's nothing to enema out. You're not eating anything. Oh, and don't forget the daily beatings. Daily beatings were important as well. What the fuck? I forgot about how terrible this is. Although this might sound like the kind of thing that a person within their right mind would go out of their way to avoid, Hazard actually got quite a lot of voluntary patients. With a signature blend of false testimony, imaginary qualifications, and persuasive rhetoric, Hazard was able to raise enough money from her victims to build her own private sanitarium away from prying eyes. Yeah, of course she needed away from prying eyes, because she's starving people and beating them until they die. Of course, she had her own detractors, but given that the majority of people practicing medicine at that point were male, she was able to dismiss their concerns to her female patient base with cries of gatekeeping and sexism. Which is fine, but then you got to look into the actual reality of things. You know? How about we, do consider reality above gender? Dunno. Controversial, isn't it? I would just like to point out that the predominantly male-controlled medical industry has, and will probably continue, to cause many problems over the years, but in this case, her male colleagues were unequivocally correct. Yeah, it's like, sure, medicine isn't perfect, doctors make mistakes all the time. Is it the best thing that we have, though? Yes. Is it constantly aiming to get better? Yes. Is it mostly non-charlatarian? Yes. Come at me in the comments, homeopaths, chiropractors, and all of you other bullshit merchants, allegedly, especially for the chiropractors. They're very litigious, so all of that is alleged in my opinion. But in my opinion, allegedly, chiropracy is kind of bullshit, in my opinion. Perhaps Hazard's most famous patients who joined her in 1910 whilst her sanitarium was being built and would eventually move in upon completion were the Williamson sisters Dora and Claire, who did feature in my video. Hailing from Liverpool, England, and being in the unusual position of being both independently wealthy and fully in control of their own finances, fucking awesome! As well as being distrustful of modern medicine and obsessed with eternal health, not awesome, Hazard must have thought all her Christmases had come at once. When they reached out to her asking for more information about her services, she was quick to send them a copy of her book, and after being amazed by its contents, they signed up straight away and headed off to Seattle, without telling any of their friends or relatives where they were going. I mean, to be fair, they're like rich as fuck, they can do whatever they want. Apparently, as soon as they arrived in her office, Dr. Hazard could immediately tell how unwell they were, in spite of the fact that only one of them had anything serious on their medical records, and that was a case of childhood diphtheria. I mean, serious at the time, but it probably not affecting your life however many decades later. She immediately enrolled them in a most severe treatment program, even going so far as to administer their first treatments right there in her office, a process which essentially involved her repeatedly punching them in the back, stomach, and the head, and then shoving a tube up their ass and flushing all it out. As time was clearly of the essence, she also provided them with a new diet. They were told to boil tomatoes with a small cube of butter in 4 pints of water and drink 1 cup of the resulting broth 3 times a day. Ugh. Why? This, combined with the previously mentioned enema sessions and regular beatings, meant that by the time they were moved to the newly completed sanitarium several weeks later, they were actually transported via ambulance because neither of them was capable of walking. Sounds like the treatment's working brilliantly, Doc! During that ambulance journey, one of Linda Hazard's lawyers joined Dora to help her write a letter that, among other things, signed over her personal property, her jewelry, and a large chunk of her money to her. Ugh. To cut along an incredibly gruesome story short, Dora Wood shortly passed away, and if Claire had not managed to sneak out a letter that was eventually delivered to her former governess in Australia, what the fuck's that? Who came to her, oh, is that the person who looks after children in the past? Huh, she would have definitely gone the same way. It would transpire that this had been happening a lot. By carrying out her own autopsies and paying hefty bribes to the local funeral home, Hazard was able to cover up her crimes for far too long. When she finally ended up in court, it came out, as you'll be totally shocked and stunned to discover, that Dr. Hazard wasn't a real doctor at all. No, you don't say. Due to a loophole in Washington law, she'd been able to obtain a license in alternative medicine as a fasting specialist. Although, isn't it true that in America you could just call yourself a doctor? You could be like, yes, I am Dr. Simon, and that's okay. Like, you could just choose it. Someone told me that once. Is that true? That feels ridiculous. Although she would eventually be found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 2 years hard labor. Yes, please. 2 years is a little bit light, though. On her release, she carried off exactly where she'd left off. Send her back to hard labor. Get her, like, moving. Hard labor in my mind is like people on a chain gang and they're like breaking rocks. And there's Linda Hazard as well. Apparently her reputation did not dissuade rich idiots from wanting to be starved to death. It's just possible that in spite of deliberately stealing the money, property, and land of her patients, she actually did believe in her methods. The only reason I'm saying this is because in 1938 she herself became ill and would eventually die after attempting to heal herself with her own techniques.
Good!
There's a word for that. Oh yes, poetic justice. Personally, I don't think that 2 years hard labor even comes close to adequately punishing her for her crimes. fucking agree, Dave. If you're interested in finding out all of the horrendous details involved in this case, then I do say that you check out the video I mentioned on Ask the Mortician channel. It's called The Doctor, the Mortician, and the Murderer. I don't know the title of my video that I made about this. I can't plug it. So just go watch someone else's video. I don't care. It's fine. It's fine. Look at it. Look, I'm a good member of the YouTube community. You don't have to always watch my things. I won't judge you much. Walter Freeman. Oh, another one I know. Not autopsy. Lobotomy, dude. Lobotomies. Cutting the brain cures the soul. No, it fucking doesn't. It just makes you into a mush of a person. Suffering from hallucinations, depression, undiagnosable pain, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, or disobedience. My children suffer from disobedience. Although the other day, something really nice happened. My kids, we live in a city, and they're riding their bikes around, they ride on the pavement, and then they come across a crossing. And they always wait at the crossing, because they know not to cross. And eventually, they're like, there's no traffic, and my wife is far back, and they start to cross, and my wife's like, no, stop, no, you don't. And they've been waiting there for a few minutes, and the guy, a guy driving along, rolls down his window and says, wow, your kids are really good. They did not start to cross for a long time. I'm like, that's so nice. What a nice thing to just stop and say.
That's the coolest fucking story I've ever heard in my entire life. That's insane. Can I hear it again?
So, Walter Freeman has the cure for you. Pop it down to the local doctor's surgery, you undergo a brief examination, and you let yourself or your loved one have a lobotomy. Yes, please. Although Walter Freeman was not the inventor of the lobotomy, that dubious honor goes to Portuguese neurologist Egas Moniz. He did bring it to America and turn it into a one-size-fits-all cure for almost any psychological disorder. For those of you who are blissfully unaware as to what exactly this procedure entails, allow me to enlighten you. Oh boy, if you've never heard of this, you are in for an unpleasant surprise. Put simply, a lobotomy originally involved drilling holes into the front of the skull to allow access to the brain, and then using a sharpened instrument to sever the connection between the main brain and the frontal lobe. Oh, but Freeman did one better, I believe. He did the transorbital lobotomy, which sounds very fancy, but orbits are just your eyes, and trans means around. I mean, trans is one of the things I Google most often, not because I'm interested in transitioning or for whatever reasons I'll be Googling it, but I always want Google Translate, and I'm too quick. I'm like, trans, and I expect it to autofill, and I hit enter, and it's like, oh, no, that's not the trans I wanted. Never mind. The first American to undergo this new procedure, Alice Hood Hammett, a 63-year-old housewife from Topeka in Kansas, had reportedly been suffering from anxiety, insomnia, depression, and disobedience. No, she hadn't been. Just depression. Once the procedure had been completed, it was alleged that she was entirely cured. After Freeman attempted the procedure a few more times with alleged similar success, its popularity exploded. All over the country, lobotomies were being prescribed for anything from repeated headaches to various digestive issues. The problem is that, I got a bit of acid reflux. It's like, you know what'll fix that right up? A lobotomy, because you'll no longer know what's going on. The problem was, due to the fact that holes needed to be drilled into the skull of the patient, the procedure could only be conducted by a trained neurosurgeon in a proper operating theatre. I mean, God forbid we do brain surgery in an operating theatre with a neurosurgeon, right? Right? Freeman wasn't having any of that nonsense, though, experimenting with tools in his kitchen, kid you not, and a couple of grapefruits, again, kid you not, that he had lying around. He developed a method whereby an ice pick-shaped instrument could be hammered through the thin bone above the eye socket, waved around a little, and boom! Hey presto, your brain no longer works, but, I mean, you don't care about that acid reflux, do you? Because you've got bigger problems to worry about. I love that quote. Like, a person has lots of things to worry about until they get sick. And then they have one thing to worry about, and it's like, ooh, that hits. After testing it out on some cadavers, he took his new procedure on the road. Now it was possible to lobotomize somebody in a few minutes in a doctor's office with no neurosurgery expertise and, importantly, no anesthetic. Oh my God, they're going in through the eyes, and I can feel it.
No.
Reported results are extremely varied. It is claimed that some patients made a full recovery in a matter of days, suffered no further symptoms, and went on to live perfectly happy lives. Others, however, were not so. Is that really true? Did people have a lobotomy and then they were just chill and cool with it and it was all right? I thought it fucked everyone up. Well, that's a nice bit of news for me. Others, however, were not so lucky. There are reports of people having to completely relearn basic life skills such as showering and using the toilet. Reports of people requiring full-time care for the rest of their lives. Reports of people entering catatonic states and never recovering. And yet more reports of people dying almost immediately. I mean, yeah, you're poking around in their brain with a big needly stick thing. Leaving aside the dubious beneficial results, Freeman's real crimes against humanity stemmed from how quickly he would recommend this unalterable procedure. One woman took her 12-year-old stepson to him for an evaluation, after being told by at least 2 other doctors that he was a perfectly normal child, perhaps somewhat disturbed by never having been able to properly deal with the grief of losing his biological mother to cancer at the age of 5. Freeman's diagnosis? Lobotomy. Wait, that's not a diagnosis. That's the treatment. And it's what did he even get diagnosed with? Perfectly normal. Lobotomy. Unfortunately, when the procedure did not bring about the magical transformation that Freeman had promised, instead leaving the child vacant, silent, and unable to focus on anything at all, the stepmother kicked him out of the house and he became a ward of the state. Well, fuck you, you're a terrible person as well. As time wore on, Freeman became more and more unprofessional in his work. Reports indicate that he lobotomized a child as young as 4. And more of his patients suffered particularly negative effects. He was eventually banned from carrying out the procedure because during one lobotomy carried out in his office, he stopped halfway through to take a photo with somebody. As a result of this unbelievable negligence, the pick he was using sank too deeply in the brain, resulting in terminal hemorrhaging. Just fuck, man. That didn't stop him making a huge amount of money before that, though. For many years, he would travel the country visiting various mental hospitals, both carrying out his procedure for $25, about $450 today, and teaching staff his refined techniques so that they could do it themselves. Refined techniques. Although lobotomies were still regularly carried out well into the 1980s. I was almost alive then. They did eventually fall out of favor, with actual medicine taking their place. Which was nice. Malachi Love-Robinson. As anyone familiar with the work of the late great Kevin Mitnick will tell you, humans are altogether too trusting. Kevin Mitnick, legend. I loved his books when I was a kid. I mean, not when I was a kid, I was like a late teenager. They're books for adults. I don't know why I said that. It's like, I loved Harry Potter when I was a boy. It's like, no, Kevin Mitnick's books are just awesome. Rip to the goat. Far too often, all it takes is a confident tone, an engaging smile, and an inflated sense of self-importance. Oh my god, I've got it all! And you can gain access to information or places unavailable to the average person. I remember, was it Kevin Mitnick who was like, just carry a clipboard? Just be like, hello. Just wander in. It's to come here for the, you know. Mm-hmm. Come this way, my man. Although undoubtedly one of the greatest practitioners of social engineering that the world has ever seen, as regular watchers of Decoding the Unknown will shortly discover, hopefully, Mr. Mitnick never really used his skills in a way that caused any real harm to others. Malachi Robinson, or Dr. Love, was different. Born on the 12th of May, 1997. What? He's 10 years younger than me, almost to the day. Malachi Robinson knew from a very early age that he wanted to become a doctor. Unfortunately, what he did not want to do was go through all that tedious training in order to become one. Bullshit medical school. They're just there to take your money. You know, the kind of training that teaches you how to be a doctor, how to diagnose people with genuine ailments, that sort of thing. But what could he do? How can somebody who lacks the money, the intelligence, and above all the patience to become a doctor fast-track his way into practice? And that's right, it's homeopathy. Yes, please. But then you're not a doctor, are you? You're not a doctor. Stop calling yourself a doctor, for fuck's sake.
I'm a doctor.
Given that the majority of homeopathic medicine doesn't actually do anything, it's much easier to obtain certification that claims you know how to use it. Oh my god, I should do this. I should get certified as a homeopath. Oh my god, can I do that? How long does that take? Oh, I'd love to do that, just to talk about how much bullshit it is. I bet I'll just be there. It'd be like a bunch of hippies and me. Just snickering in the corner. In some cases, it's just a case of going online, filling out a form, paying a fee, and receiving a certificate. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get certified as a homeopath, baby. Yes. While it's not uncommon for children to play act as doctors, often with props like stethoscopes and lab coats, Robinson took this to a whole new level. I'm looking this up right now. I'm too interested. Online naturopath certification. Yes. In India? Yes, please. That sounds cheaper. Udemy. Fully accredited certificate in homeopathy. Yes, please. 2 full-size ebooks. Yes, please. 70 euros. Yes, please. Where I get a certificate? Dr. Paul Graham? Who are you? Oh my God. He's one of Udemy's most highly qualified and experienced instructors in the fields of natural and complementary medicine. Dr. Paul is an ANMCB, American Naturopath Medical Certification Board. How do I get that? That's what I want. That's what I want. And then I can start selling this. Yes! Finally, money! All right, I'm just joking, but maybe I will get certified. So anyway, at 17, he was discovered wandering around a Palm Beach hospital, complete with a real stethoscope and a lab coat. It was some fucking Doogie Howser shit. All credit to the hospital, they very quickly realised something was wrong, and they called the police, only to have Robinson claim that he was a trainee doctor currently shadowing an OBGYN at mate of 17. Doogie Howser's not real. In another refreshing display of competence, the police very quickly ascertained that this OBGYN did not work at that hospital and in all probability did not exist at all. Unfazed by this early brush with the law, he would go on to treat many more individuals, even going so far as to set up his own website where he advertised himself thusly. Dr. Malachi Love-Robinson is a well-rounded professional that treats, cares for patients using a system of practice that bases treatment of physiological functions and abnormal conditions on natural laws governing the human body. Dr. Love-Robinson utilizes physiological, psychological, and mechanical methods such as air, water, light, heat, earth, phototherapy, food and herb therapy, psychotherapy, electrotherapy, physiotherapy, mechanotherapy, naturopathic corrections and manipulation, and natural methods of modalities together with natural medicines, natural processed foods and herbs and nature's remedies. Boom! That's why they call me One Take Whistler. They don't, but that'd be cool. Although real medical professionals could see right through him, more gullible or medically misinformed members of the public, of which there are sadly many, were not so lucky. Now armed with several doctorates purchased from Universal Life Church Seminary. That's what I need! Yes! You're in if $29! Oh my God, I gotta get like 10 of these. I'll be Dr. Simon. And I'll fix you right the fuck up. Take these herbs. He began taking on patients. One patient, 86-year-old Anita Morrison of Palm Beach, contacted Robinson, now trading under the name Dr. Love. After several visits to a gastroenterologist, failed to help her with a stomach pain. After visiting her at home, Robinson was sure he could help, and so he very professionally went out and purchased over-the-counter sleep aid medication, which he then prescribed to her, allegedly. It's unclear as to whether or not this medication actually provided any temporary relief, but what we do know is that Mrs. Morrison contacted him again not long afterwards because she was in such extreme pain that she could not move. When he eventually arrived 3 hours later, he told her that he couldn't help her and that she would need to go to the hospital, whereupon he called for an ambulance, telling the dispatcher that he was a doctor and needed an ambulance for one of his patients. He waited for her at the hospital, and as all good medical professionals do, he stole a checkbook and used it to obtain money for himself, his organization, and what is believed to have been Nissan car payments.
What is going on?
All right then. I mean, if you're going to fraudulently buy a car, why not buy something cool? Why get a Nissan? According to an article on WPTV.com, he would later visit her in hospital, again posing as a doctor, and advised her to undergo several expensive tests that she did not need. Fortunately, these were later cancelled by a real doctor. After she reported a mysterious missing money to the authorities, having had him on their radar for a while, the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office organized an undercover operation in order to conclusively prove that the doctor he's a real doctor, he bought it for $29 off the internet. Come on. In fact, he'd been practicing medicine without a license and not just palming off useless herbs and back rubs as real treatments. Oh, God. An undercover officer booked an appointment with him for a medical checkup, and once he had carried out that checkup and pronounced her healthy, they had their evidence, and he was arrested. After he was released on bond, he was once again arrested after trying to fraudulently obtain credit at a car dealership. He went to Kia. He was like, this Nissan's not cutting it. I need another middle-of-the-road vehicle. He would receive 1 year in prison for the fraudulent credit charges and would later be sentenced to a further 42 months. Ooh, that's a stretch. after he pleaded guilty to charges of grand theft, practicing medicine without a license, and further fraud. After leaving prison in 2019, he seems to have at least partially learned his lesson. Pretending to be a doctor is hard, but getting a job for a company that organizes freight shipping and having the clients pay money directly into his account rather than to that company is much easier. Dude, you just got out of prison for fraud, and you're just going right back to obvious fraud. Sadly, it appears that he is destined to be a terminal grifter, shuttling between prison and his next scam. At least his medical career was cut short before he actually managed to kill anybody. Stanislaw Burzynski. I am definitely not the first person to think this, but to me, hope is an incredibly complex and double-edged sword. On the one side, the positive application of hope allows us to get out of bed when times are at their darkest, to fight on and succeed when everything we stand for is crumbling around us, or simply to get through a trying day at the office. So it's like Winston Churchill or some shit. We will fight on the beaches. On the other hand, hope can, in a very real way, be weaponized. I was trying to come up with a good joke and I got nothing. I was like, Kim Jong-un could use it. But he has nuclear weapons. I tried. I couldn't do it. I just do these off the cuff, you know? I'm not a comedic genius. Alright, as you well know. The hope that an abuser will change can keep us in relationships for far longer than we should. The hope that the roulette wheel will finally stop on the right number can drag people into an unending cycle of gambling addiction. And the hope that the rain will eventually stop can leave you with nothing in the fridge for dinner. Oh, because you'd actually go to people go to the shops. People, like, getting the food delivered is the same price as going to the shops. Why would you go to I only go to the shops if it's like, I need something really specific that I forgot. Or I'm making something different. See what I mean? It's a double-edged sword. The kind of hope exploited by Stanislaw Burzynski falls very much into the latter category. Without trying to sound like one of those Facebook repost this messages, I don't know what those are. I literally don't use Facebook, which is... I know it's a bit cringe to be like, I'm not on Facebook. I don't know, it's for boomers, isn't it? My wife uses Facebook and I make a joke about her being a boomer even though she's younger than me. Almost everybody watching will have some experience with cancer, whether it's you personally or a close friend or family member. The unbelievable feeling of helplessness and uncertainty that accompanies a cancer diagnosis is impossible to adequately describe until you have experienced it yourself. Personally, not myself, but I've known people who have, and yeah, it fucking sucks. It's a horrible disease, then you die. That said, I'm sure you'll all agree that anybody who, for want of a better phrase, was bottling false hope and then selling it to cancer patients in order to line their own pockets deserves a very special, drawn-out form of capital punishment. I would suggest flaying. Like, you know, where they remove the skin while you're alive? I think that would be good. Now that we're all on the same page, let us get further into the story of Stanislaw Burzynski. Let's see if he gets flayed. What better way to introduce the hero of the day than to directly copy and paste his own puff piece from his website? Oh no, I was hoping this was historical, but it's going to be recent. Dr. Burzynski, pioneering physician, revolutionized cancer treatment with the discovery of biologically active peptides. Dude, I don't think you discovered peptides. Peptides, I mean, yeah, they're a thing, but they're like... I don't think you discovered them, my dude. His groundbreaking work has led to the creation of antineoplastons used in FDA-approved trials. Founder of the Burzynski Clinic, he has treated over 10,000 patients and holds 245 patents worldwide. His expertise in targeted therapies and immunotherapy continue to shape cancer care. Alright, that sounds very persuasive, so I guess we're going to be ripping it to shreds right now. Now, if you're like me, you have no idea what biologically active peptides are or antineoplastons, then allow me to enlighten you. According to Cancer Research UK, antineoplastons are chemical compounds found normally in blood and urine. They are made up of amino acids and peptides. Amino acids are the building blocks of protein. Indeed. Given that these are naturally occurring, it is definitely a stretch to say that they were created by Burzynski. I fucking told you! Still, let's continue. Stanislaw Burzynski claims that his patented and breathtakingly expensive treatment really can cure cancer, and if you quickly skim over the pages and pages of research he provides in order to back this up, you might actually believe it. The thing is, I'm not a doctor, Simon's not a doctor, yet, and statistically, you're also not a doctor, although some of you are. So attempting to analyze these research papers ourselves would be pointless. Fortuitously, there is no need for us to do this. He's gonna put it into ChatGPT! Probably not. That's probably a bit much for old ChatGPT. Fortuitously, there's no need for us to do this when somebody makes a bold claim such as, I have discovered the cure for cancer and here is my proof. Lots of doctors and medical research teams say, really? Let me see the proof then. Then they work strenuously to recreate the same results using proper scientific methods. That's how these things work. Would you be surprised if I told you that although Stanislaw Burzynski can indeed provide evidence to back up his claims, all of that evidence comes from tests carried out either by him or at his hospital or in trials funded by him or that hospital? Oh my god, no! What a surprise! If you were not surprised by that, well, I was, Dave. I very, very much was. Well, you will be surprised by this. When other experts with no direct or indirect financial incentives attempt to replicate his findings, they are mysteriously unable to do so. Look, allegedly, there's nothing fucking mysterious about that at all, and I'll let you draw your own conclusions as to why. And if you can't do that, I don't know about you, mate. I honestly don't. But wait, it gets even more surprising. Burzynski frequently tells his patients that anti-neoplaston therapy is a safe, effective cure for most types of cancer, with the added bonus that there are no real side effects. Brilliant. I feel side effects, If I was making a fake drug, and I was like, oh yeah, no, it cures baldness. I mean, it just magically makes your hair grow back. No side effects. I feel that if I included a really long list of mild side effects and then somehow made the pill give people a headache, then I think it would actually sell better because people will be like, oh shit, it does something. I've got a cracking headache from that baldness pill. Maybe it's all my new hair being pushed out. We pretty conclusively covered the effectiveness idea, but just in case, here's the advice provided by health practitioners to the National Cancer Institute. Quote, no randomized control trials showing the effectiveness of anti-neoplastons have been published in the peer-reviewed scientific literature. Yes, just in case it really wasn't clear to you. Doesn't fucking work. Stop it. Stop giving people hope, you fucking quack, allegedly, in my opinion. The bit about safety and no side effects could actually be described by someone with no fear of legal ramifications as a lie. But obviously, as someone with fear of legal ramifications, that is not something that I personally would say, or indeed even imply. Not only are the side effects, and I don't know why I winked then. I just have a twitch in my eye. That wink was just a twitch. Sometimes you're just like a little bit, It's just how it is. It's a new thing. That happened just that one time, but means nothing. Not only are the side effects both well-researched and varied, they include, but are not limited to, severe neurological toxicity. That sounds fucking bad. Does that mean your brain got poisoned? Bone marrow suppression, hyponatremia, fatigue, stupor and coma, and potassium deficiency in the blood. Look, when one of the most common side effects is coma, that's not good, my dudes. Hyponatremia especially seems to be a real problem. Bro, it's in the list with coma. Coma's a problem. As part of brain poison? As part of documentation, Burzynski himself submitted to the FDA whilst trying to get a human testing ban lifted. Out of 2,185 test subjects, approximately half of them developed the condition, and at least 6 individuals, one of whom was only 6 years old, died as a result of this whilst undergoing Burzynski's miracle cure. Bro, this just somehow gets fucking worse. Not only are you giving people hope in some sort of alleged bullshit cure, one of them was fucking 6. And they died from a side effect of the cure. I mean, fuck you. But it's not just that the treatment cannot be proven to work, makes people ill, and occasionally causes death. There are a number of financial concerns involved as well. I'm not sure how it works in the US, but in the UK, if you volunteer your own body for experimental trials, then you stand to be financially compensated rather handsomely. Indeed, very familiar with this because I have been compensated rather handsomely many times in my younger years for testing experimental medication. It's a cracking way to earn a lot of money for doing nothing. Before I started working for Simon during a period of unemployment-induced poverty, the likes of which I had not experienced since being a teenager, I participated in a medical study up in London. Where did you do it? I've done so many in London. For 28 days, I lived in a sort of college dormitory situation, complete with pool tables, games consoles, free food, super fast internet, and because the study was about smoking, free cigarettes. That is fucking dope. The longest I've done is 21 days. Holy shit, 28 days is a long time. 28 days, I reckon that's probably 5 grand, 6 grand American. Like, I think I got like 3,200, something like that. It was over maybe it was 3,500 pounds for like the 21 days. So it's longer, plus I'm thinking about inflation. For my troubles, I was compensated to the tune of £6,500. Boom! I have carried out, and all you do is sit around. Dave could do this while writing scripts for me. I've carried out a little more research on the matter, and being paid for your services appears to be the norm. Burzynski, however, takes a different approach. In order to participate in his trials for a drug that has been proven to not really work, the usually terminally ill patients have to pay out many thousands of dollars. The following is an extract from a Newsweek article, which rather handily demonstrates a lot of questionable behaviors carried out by Burzynski and his alleged treatment center. And yeah, just remember, this is Newsweek's reporting that I'm just mentioning. It's a little longer than anything I'd usually directly quote from, but I think it's important, and not doing so would be a disservice. Okay, here we go. The parents and grandfather of a New Hampshire 12-year-old with a brain tumor were convinced that anti-neoplastons were the girl's last chance. So they petitioned the FDA, secured a local doctor to oversee the treatment, and even wrote to their senator. In March 2014, they were finally granted a rare exemption. Okay, just to interrupt the quote. I don't like this particular scenario, but I do like the idea that if you're terminally ill and there's some fucking crazy ass experiment, like the drug company's like, well, it's still in phase 1, we're testing it on like monkeys, it's really effective in monkeys, we have no idea how it's going to work with humans. I really think that if you're terminally ill, you should be allowed to bypass that, just be like, I'm fucking down, like I'm gonna take a risk, like if it kills me, I'm dead anyway, so fuck it, let's give it a go. I got like, you got like a few months to live in like relative pain and misery. I'll just be like, fuck it, dose me up. At least I'll be doing something for science. But the family still needed a nurse to administer the anti-neoplastons, and the Burzynski clinic said that the nurse had to get trained in Houston. At the time, I had a 7-month-old baby that was being exclusively breastfed. The nurse, Ariel Dye, says, she told the family she couldn't just hop on a plane, but they said, we're looking for someone to go tomorrow. After a sleepless night, Dye decided to volunteer her services, accepting only travel expenses. Holy shit, you're a good person. Wow. But soon after she arrived in Houston for her training, she became suspicious. The training took only 30 minutes, for which she says the family was charged thousands of dollars. At this point, the quote continues, by the way, at this point, Dye knew something about anti-neoplastons and the scant evidence of their efficacy. Yeah, because she's a fucking medical professional. She still fulfilled the family's wishes, returning to New Hampshire and administering the anti-neoplastons. The drugs were debilitating, causing hyponatremia that led to anemia and sleepiness. Every day, she and the family debated whether to continue, knowing that this could be the girl's last summer. After a few weeks, the family discontinued the treatment, and a few months later, the girl passed away. Dye says the clinic never followed up with the family, either before or after the girl's passing. Well, that's just fucking sad. This episode is kind of both things, isn't it? It's like, it's supposed to be an entertaining channel, but this is just really fucking sad. In 2016, the FDA placed a full hold on Burzynski's approved testing for anti-neoplastons, but his facility still appears to be conducting various trials and experiments to this day. Although it appears he is now integrating his drugs that don't work, allegedly, with drugs that do, and calling it a win. Or as his website puts it, integrating holistic methods alongside traditional treatments may provide a more balanced and comprehensive path to healing. Just in case you didn't catch that, let me roll my eyes more thoroughly. You know, Jesus Christ. Personally, and again, not a doctor, this, to me, is at least broadly equivalent to having a neurosurgeon perform complex brain surgery and then attributing the results to a vegetable smoothie that the patient drank when they came round. Just fantastic analogy, Dave. Well done. This, in a roundabout way, brings me back to the idea of both positive and negative hope. I suppose it's truly possible that Burzynski believes that he really does have a miracle cure, but his refusal to accept the findings of others, coupled with the fact that his research techniques have been referred to as at best sloppy and at worst willfully negligent. They've been referred to them as that. I would never say that they were willfully negligent. I'm just saying what some people have said. I personally suspect that he's just another grifter taking advantage of fear and misplaced hope of terminally ill patients. And just let's point out the language there. Dave personally suspects this. You are free to personally suspect what you like, Dave. I personally suspect this as well, pretty fucking heavily. but I just suspect it, and it's just my opinion. After all, if you have no other choices left and nothing to lose apart from your life savings, why not take a punt on the crazy doctor? And that, ladies and gentlemen, Simon, brings us to the end of this lengthy episode. I do appreciate that this was somewhat of a heavy topic for an episode of Brain Blaze. No shit, but I feel like we did have a laugh at some points, and then the children died of cancer, which is just like fucking I do hope that I was at least able to make it entertaining, if not amusing. The phrase, if it seems too good to be true, then it probably is, has been bandied about so much since its inception that it doesn't really carry any weight anymore. I mean, too good to be true. It's like, honestly, like making YouTube videos for a living, pretty fucking dope. Like if someone told me that you could, like, sometimes there's like good shit. It's really fun. It's the example I always come back to. I mean, like, it's too good to be true. It's like, well, they'll pay you a lot of money to make like just videos on the internet. I'm like, okay. Wait, that's my job? Okay. Shit. However, if there is a situation in which it still holds a little value, then it is when it comes to researching alternative medicines. Whilst big pharmaceutical companies definitely do not always have your best interests at heart, nor does someone who claims to be able to cure cancer, but only in their own laboratories and clinics, funded by their own deception. Indeed. That's the end of the episode. Thank you for being here. Oh, I got laid and I broke my leg.